Hi, everyone. This is Joe
Oh,
Chadburn with the International Peace Network. I'm here with my good friend, NeNe Mulhem. I've interviewed her before, spoken with her extensively. My precious Palestinian sister, who happens to be a precious Muslim. I love her dearly, love her so much, and I love her heart.
I love
And
you too.
yeah, so good to have you and speak with you. I hate the circumstances that in which we have to carry on this conversation with current events, but is so glad to to be able to connect with you. And you expressed your desire to for us to pray together. You can lead, and then I will follow in prayer, and then we can get on with our conversation about Palestine. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I would like to start with Surah Al-Fatiha for the people of Gaza that we have lost and for everyone that is still fighting and for Palestinians around the world and for our brothers and sisters who are supporting us and for even those who are against us. I pray that they find humanity and that God has mercy on them. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين صدق الله العظيم. Your turn, Joe.
Yeah, our our precious God and Father, we just look to you right now. Jesus, you are the Prince of Peace. You are love, and we just thank you for this time together. I thank you that your heart for all precious humanity created in your image would be portrayed through our words today. We do thank you for mercy and grace and Lord, just brotherly love throughout the nations, God. We thank you for peaceful coexistence in Palestine and throughout the earth. And we know that if there's true peace, there is justice, there is just equality and love. And so I thank you for breaking down every boundary that stands in the way of love, God, and help our words to do that today. And I thank you for helping us to speak with clarity and just to reach people with love today. Let them hear not just our words, but our hearts. And we just thank you for that. Okay,
Amen.
my dear sister
Thank you, Jesus.
and dear audience, I there's so much with what's going on right now in Gaza and the West Bank and with Palestinians all over the world. Don't even know where to start. My heart is broken. It is broken when I'm seeing reports. I'm seeing just babies, just gruesome images of babies being destroyed by bombs. I'm looking at people digging in the rubble for their loved ones, hoping that they're still alive. Many have not lived, and while they're looking for them in the rubble, they're being bombed on top of that. So this is
On purpose.
it's horrible. Hospitals being bombed, medical convoys after hospitals are told to evacuate, places where it's supposed to be safe, just being bombed. Mosques being bombed. The third oldest church on earth bombed by the Israelis, and this affects Palestinian Muslims, Palestinian Christians. Yes, there is such a thing. And they're all beautiful people. And they've been dwelling together in unity and love for ages, long before 1948 and after. And so my heart goes out to them. And I see what I see from a lot of Americans, and I love you dearly, but I ask that you would really study things and study it with some objectivity and with freedom of prejudice. Just go into things with an open mind. And the first thing you need to understand is look back. We could go all the way back to 1917. We could talk about Theodore Herzl. You could study that. We could talk about the Balfour Declaration. Lord Rothschild, many things we could get into. But if we're just going to begin with 1948, you're looking at anything that any Palestinian resistance to oppression and occupation has been provoked for a very long time. You're looking at 75 plus years of ethnic cleansing, genocide, crimes against humanity, heinous crimes against humanity that have been happening in Gaza and in the West Bank in perpetuity. Just because the news talks about something now, when something happens to Israelis, these things have been happening to Palestinians for ages. So these things, when we talk about something being unprovoked, you're totally forgetting about the history and just the way that Palestinians and people in the East, the way Arabs have been portrayed, is really disgusting. I know so many Palestinians, so many Arab people. They are such loving, warm, precious people. I'll put a plug in for this, but if you ever get to read the book Orientalism by Edward Said, please do, because it'll show you, it'll expose our Western prejudice to many things, Eastern, all things Arab, and give you a much better understanding of reality. I'm also going to say this. American media is like on another planet compared to what's really happening. Even if you think that somebody else might have their own slant, the images don't lie. Go to Al Jazeera English Live on YouTube. It's free. Go there and you can watch the reports of things that are happening that you're not seeing in the American media, and it will break your heart. You will see other perspectives, even from Israelis. You will see perspectives from other world leaders in Ireland and various places. And you also get beautiful Palestinian perspectives, and you will see them as the beautiful humans that they are. I'm also going to add this, and then I'm going to let NeNe kind of take this over. But I just want you to picture this. And I saw something on Facebook the other day. It was a powerful image. And there was this toddler, and he was in the midst of rubble, and his parents had just been bombed, their bodies dismembered, blood all over the place. He's crawling away from them. The very next picture, he's there, okay, holding a slingshot. And then in the third picture, he's a soldier, okay? He's a member of resistance. And all I could think of was, man, I don't know about you, I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself. I know myself as a child. I know myself as an 18-year-old. And so many movies that I watched, that was the theme, okay? The guy whose parents had been killed, and he sought vengeance, okay? That's what I was about when I was 18-year-old. So I look at that and I can see myself. That's not as a 57-year-old man, okay? I am a peacemaker. I am anti-war, anti-violence. If you follow me, you know that. But I also understand that it's a lie. It is a horrible lie to say something is unprovoked and not to empathize with a child, not that just happening to his parents, but the perpetual bombing, the perpetual lack of food, electricity, clean water, being imprisoned in an open air concentration camp for your entire life. I can see where a young person who finally was able to get out and try to do something about it and reclaim perhaps a house that their grandmother still has the key to. I can understand the anger, and I can totally understand. I can't fathom the pain, but I get it. I get that. So I want you to empathize with people. And if this happened in America, so many of you watching, and I've said this before, you Second Amendment folks, you patriots, you would be all over occupying invaders. You would fight for your land till
look how we are with the border.
your very last breath. And I'm going to stop with that, okay? Again, I am all for peace. I love people. I love all people. I value all life. But this whole, and that's Palestinian and Israeli, okay? But to talk about this both sides, don't make it symmetrical. It's not both sides. You are talking about
Thank you.
huge oppressive, occupying bully who has tormented people for 75 plus years. So don't side with the tormentors, okay, over the tormented and just call it sides, because there is no symmetry in this whatsoever. And with that, I'm going to, yes, your commentary, Sister NeNe.
Thank you, Joe. You, like always, you say so many things that I struggle to put concisely or find the words to say because there's so much that is like, even when you're talking, I have a structure and a plan of what I came in here to speak about, and my mind is just racing like, oh, I want to say this, oh, I want to say that. But like you said, we'll have more time. And I want to lead with humanity and just talk about some of that. And you've touched on that as well. But before I say that, you mentioned how this is not a symmetrical situation, this both sides. I encourage everyone watching to please visit ifamericans.org. It is a wonderful website. They are constantly shut down, but they constantly keep coming back. And I will tell you right now, if you go on there, the numbers aren't even reflective of everything that's happened since October 7th because it's just so much. They still need to catch up and it's ongoing. But if Americans visit that website, not only will they find a plethora of information with unlimited sources, reputable sources, you'll see they break down many of their topics into bar graphs, and you can see the disparities and the difference. Here's the Israeli bar, and here's the Palestinian one on every single topic. So, like you said, there is no both sides when there is an oppressed and the oppressor. When there
Could
is
you
a
repeat that website?
population, what was that?
Could you repeat that website?
Ifamericans.org.
Okay.
Yep. And they reference a couple other great websites, but they are the most up to date. The other websites have kind of given up after 2014. It's like it's just become too much. Some people feel defeated, but ifamericans.org keeps going strong. They do source a lot of their numbers from Bet Salam. So let me remind everyone that is an Israeli human rights watch group. So if you think this is biased information, it is not a Palestinian, it is not a Jewish, it is an Israeli Jewish human rights watch group. And they've referenced a lot of their numbers because they know they're accurate. These people are on the ground in Israel and Palestine. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there because you mentioned the symmetry thing. But I am here today to call on humanity, to beg everyone from the people of Palestine to our allies to please, please, please do what you can. My fellow Palestinian Americans, to all Americans, everyone around the world, to do your part to end the genocide, to end the occupation, and to end apartheid, to cease fire now. We cannot stop with this messaging. It's so simple and it's necessary. And it's like, it really doesn't need to be complicated, like they say. It's pretty simple. End the genocide, end the occupation, end apartheid, ceasefire now. And everyone can do a part in this. And I truly believe the tide is turning. And if everyone is consistent in doing a part in it, even if it's a small part, it's going to make all the difference. So I really just want to appeal to everyone from a humanity standpoint, just as a 34-year-old American business owner, athlete, daughter, sister, friend, lover, whatever, aunt in some ways. Like, I'm a normal person. I'm not Hamas. And it's getting really tiresome of how everyone is conflating this little part of Palestine with all of us. I feel like I've cried more than I've ever cried in my life. Every day I cry, every morning, every night. And I stop myself because I have to be strong for my people. And I wrote some things down because I knew I would get emotional and I wouldn't be able to stay focused and keep it together otherwise. So bear with me. Um, that's why I did not wear makeup today like last time. But as someone who suffers from anxiety and depression, um, I have to stop myself and be careful not to sink too deep into a rut because I know I'll be no good for my people if I let that happen. And at the same time, I have to remind myself to buckle up, buttercup. This is just a smidge of what the people in Gaza are feeling every second, not every day, but every second. So I don't want people to feel bad necessarily for me after this. I want them to feel bad for Gaza because Gaza will never forgive us for this as we continue to watch a genocide unfold live and we just move on with our lives. Like I seen a meme on Facebook saying like it's a Netflix commercial, or something.
Mhm.
But anyways, um, there's no word for this tumultuous combo of emotions that all of us Palestinians are feeling right now. The best way I can put it is it feels like my heart is burning, like it's bleeding into my stomach to the point of making me want to vomit. And I have every couple days. I literally throw up after watching some of the videos that people in Gaza send me and that I'm unable to share because Facebook censors it. So I'm really thankful for you giving me, oh my gosh, I got to get it together, a platform today to speak about this. I really wish we could share one of the videos today. If you follow me on Facebook, it's the only place I've been able to share it. I was able to share it on Instagram stories after 3 times, but Meta reduced the video to 28 seconds. They didn't even let a minute of it air. The video's over 4 minutes and it's been sent to me twice by people in Gaza. Maybe we can link it in the video for people to reference after. But like I said, find me on Facebook, NeNe F. Mulhem, and it's one of my most recent posts, my most recent video. And it came to me because before this interview, I asked the people of Palestine who have no voice, who are being censored, what do they want me to say? If they were given a microphone with CNN, what would they say? What would they share if they were given a platform? And I have so many messages, I can't even cover them all today. But this one just like hit me the hardest. And when I shared it, I could see the reaction spanning from other Palestinians to my Black friends to my white friends. One of my Mexican friends commented, old, young, one of my friends' mothers, one of my friends' grandmothers. And I just realized like this video is what's gonna reach to humanity. So I wanted to mention it. And this video is basically Israeli soldiers rounding up senior civilians, non-Hamas senior civilian males. So imagine, like, I watch this video and I just see some of those men and they look like my great uncles or my dad, and they're just rounding them up and throwing them in a mass grave where people are already buried. And they throw them in there live and they shoot them. And they just one after another. And it's horrific. It's like unbelievable that the US is not calling for a ceasefire and is continuing to fund this. The UK, France, like everyone, it's like this isn't bombing for Hamas. Like this is straight up genocide. When you talked about the child earlier, when I talk about this video, these are just two of several examples of clear genocide. This isn't targeting a terrorist, like how we sent in 6 Navy SEALs for Osama bin Laden, and we made sure to be careful because we knew his wife and his children may be in the building. This is like truly ethnically cleansing, trying to wipe a population off the map so that some new Israeli real estate could be developed. And the plans are out there. Like you said, if Americans would just please stop listening to CNN, just like they did in 2020. Why now is CNN valid? Stop listening to Biden, just like many of you gave up on doing after 2020. Now everything he says is word of bond. Like, look a little further and you will see that this is a waste of our tax dollars. We are not even being strategic in finding terrorists or protecting civilians. We are just indiscriminately bombing, carpet bombing, trying to eradicate an entire population for some elite groups, political and financial agendas. And yeah, I got a little off topic there, but I was going to say, after I described the feeling that I have, that I'm sure other Palestinians have, of their heart bleeding into their stomach and making them want to vomit, some of us literally vomiting. Um, it that feeling comes not just after watching that video, but after, for me personally, not hearing back from children who follow me, because in my heart, I know they're dead. And that's why I like to start there with humanity, because you think about, in the time now with cell phones, right? What do moms always tell their kids? Call me when you get there, text me when you get there. Like, just imagine that feeling you have. I know everyone watching this, their child has done that at some point. I've done it. We forgot to call or text mom, and it was something that was like a little risky or far, or,
Yeah.
and just imagine that feeling now, but it never goes away. And it just increases by the second, times 100. And you don't know where your child is. Your child is now not answering for over an hour, 2 hours. At what point do you, as an American mother, go to the police? You're worried something's happened to your child or missing. I would argue my mom is probably not going to wait more than 30 minutes from my arrival time, even in my 30s. She wants to know if I went out, if I got home safe, even here in Africa. Let me know you got back to your hotel room. So she probably wouldn't be as extreme in my 30s to run and call the police after 30 minutes, but still, as a child, I know, like, you wouldn't wait long. So just imagine these parents or coaches or people like me in another country that's working with these children. And I'm just used to them. I know their schedules, I know their patterns and their behaviors, and how much they love to talk to me or how much they love to vent to me. And I just know, like, I just pray, but I just know they're probably one of the 3,300.
Mm.
3,300 and counting children that have been killed, and it hasn't even been 1 month. This all
Yeah.
started on October 7th,
Yeah.
the numbers that I'm giving you. This all didn't start on October 7th, we all know that, but the numbers that I'm giving you are purely from then till now. The people of Palestine, from what I'm gathering from my messages, want me to share, feel like cockroaches, unwanted insects, as if they're dispensable as toilet paper. That the world, for lack of better words, literally doesn't give a shit. If they are mass murdered on live television, dehumanized isn't even a strong enough word for what the people of Gaza especially feel. They feel that the world views their lives as less than theirs, of less than the Ukrainians, of less than animals. America and the UK, correct me if I'm wrong, give more humanity than animals than it does to the people of Palestine. Because I always use the analogy of, what if it was 3,300 Jewish children murdered? Would the world not call that a Holocaust, right? Why is it different for 3,300 Palestinian children? It doesn't seem to stick no matter how many times I say it. I go, okay, what if it was 3,300 Ukrainian children? Still doesn't seem to stick. In a matter of less than a month, the US probably would nuke Russia if that happened. But I bet all the money in the world people could start to understand, because they know it's true, that if we killed 3,300 dogs, the US and the UK would be up in arms over who was doing this. Like, it would be handled right away. So, just to put into perspective of you, like, as an American, I know how much we love animals, and like that literally is the truth. If some crazy person in the South was, just slaughtering these dogs and selling their furs or whatever he was doing, like, it would just be the biggest ordeal, and it would be stopped and consequences would be served. But the people of Palestine can't even get that for the children. That's the numbers for the children. That's not even the numbers including the seniors and the middle-aged and the injured. So
Yeah,
it's just really disgusting.
I want to
And
put in. Can I put in two little plugs here? Something, because my friend Ahmed, he's been keeping up with me. Now, mind you, he is, and we've done video chats just like I'm doing with you. Okay, people in Gaza have a very limited amount of. There's no electricity. They're getting what they can. They're so ingenious. Palestinians are, okay. Charging phones with car batteries, with anything that they can get hold of. But he's using the power that he's got, what little power he's got on his phone, to talk to his friends in the United States. And some of the last things he told me, okay, is those of us that aren't being bombed are being starved to death. He had also had some images that were horrible, and he was trying to show me, okay, to tone it down for me. And his last words to me, "I love you so much, brother." Okay, this is, there's so much love, and there's so many people who just want to coexist in peace. And this is my brother. If you don't like that, if you're a Christian and you don't like that, this is my Muslim brother. This is my human brother. This is my friend. And we really need to think this way. And Christians in America, if you think that Israel created in 1948 is something special, not getting off on a sidetrack here, but go to internationalpeacenetwork.org or contact me. I'd love to talk with you about that and share things from a much different Christocentric theological position that's been around since the first century. This Christian Zionism was invented in the 15th century. And when you look at how it has been, it's so interwoven with the web of political Zionism and certain agendas that it's just horrendous. And I can get into that with you, and I do in depth on plenty of videos there on the internationalpeacenetwork.org. And I would love to talk with you about this, because there's no way that you can say, "For God so loved the world," or sing, "Jesus loves the little children," but for some reason he's genocidal and this is his will, and he doesn't care about Palestinian children. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem, Palestine, okay, he wasn't born in New Jersey. This is some of the very first Christians, okay? People who can trace their
and there are still Christians who think
back.
that we don't love Jesus. It's crazy.
Like, they can trace their lineage back to the very first Jewish disciples of Jesus, okay? That's the thing. And what else you don't see in Palestine? Muslims, you'll see it in Syria, you'll see it in Lebanon. There's Christians and Muslims got Christmas trees. They are celebrating Jesus together. Yes, we don't all believe the same, but man, we're all humans. He loves all of us. And who would believe in a God who wants to destroy little babies and is genocidal? That is so out of character with who Jesus is. Okay, so I just want to put that in while we're talking about humanity and all these convoluted religious things and just the brainwashing that has just soaked the American psyche. And I'm asking you to step out of that, be a human, ask yourself if this happened anywhere else and I didn't have my religious prejudices, could I condone this? Is there any way? And then again, look at news from other sources, study these things. I can get hold of plenty of Jewish resources that are out there. I got right now on the screen, ifamericansknew.org. You can go to Jewish Voice for Peace. There are tons of precious Jewish people, and there are Israelis there they're in Palestine who are against this genocide, who are speaking out against it. So I just wanted to plug that. This isn't just some, bleeding heart, white Christian guy in Indiana, or this precious Palestinian princess who happens to be in Africa right now, who's pleading. No, we are humans, okay? We are humans. We love people, and let's be human. Go ahead, NeNe.
Thank you, Joe. I love how you go off for us. But no, I was just sharing from a humanity standpoint what the people of Palestine messaged me when I asked what they would like me to say or touch on. And another thing that broke my heart was a message that I received from someone in Gaza that I've befriended over the last couple years. And this is not a child, but still a young adult, younger than me, with a lot of promise in his life, a lot of goals and ambitions, the furthest thing from a Hamas stereotype. He's just an amazing individual in everything that he's studying and doing. It's to give back to Gaza. It's to help with the water and the electricity. He's been learning everything from engineering to software development, but we'll talk about him more later. But he said to me, NeNe, why aren't you are American? Can you please ask the other Americans why everyone isn't calling for a ceasefire? You are one of many of my American friends. We don't hate Americans. We love you, and we love many Americans. So why do the Americans hate us? Why? Just because of Hamas? Even if they hate Hamas, they don't have to hate us. What do we need to do for them to ask for a ceasefire? And it hurts so bad because I don't have the answers to these questions. And he's not asking me. It's more of a rhetorical question, but still, I feel guilty as an American citizen to not have these answers. And I feel like we've been hearing this on other interviews, and this is what he said. What is the number that they need to hear to stop? Because now he told me something greater than 3,300. Are they waiting for 5,000? Please tell me. Will they stop at 10,000? It's almost like they're just counting down. They don't even care how many die. Like at this point, just please stop and let us know what number it is for us to look forward to. And not that they want any more people to die, but they're genuinely like, what are you hearing over there? Are they saying like, okay, well, if they keep killing up to this many, then they're going to stop? Like what? And then some are just asking because it's what we're all asking in these interviews, like out of shock that at 3,300, it's not happening. What is the number? So no, the number is non-existent because for the occupation, it's when our race is completely wiped out. And they know that they can't do it in the diaspora, but they're going to try their hardest to wipe it out of Gaza because then they'll have a significant part of it, and in their eyes will have eliminated Hamas because for some reason the two most advanced militaries in the world can't seem to find 1,500 or less guys now because they've killed I don't know how many of them. It's just insane. Mm-hmm. So
let's say something what you're talking about. Here's something I envisioned the other day, and you see this in so many crazy movies. But can you imagine? Let's say somebody was just at a workplace, and there's someone that hated everybody at work, and so they shut the entire workplace off, and they can view in and monitor what's happening, and people are being picked off left and right. You can picture, you ever seen a movie where there's a torture chamber? and somebody is just sitting outside the torture chamber, and it's never enough. They're always tormenting the victim, okay? This is so much right now what Western politicians look like. When you're talking about this, how many is enough? Like, how far do we turn up the voltage? How many do we shoot? How many before we, to get the message? And it is this, what sort of psychopath isn't going to just shut the whole thing down, bust in there, and stop the senseless killing of beautiful children, women, and men? And we need to remember that men, do not dehumanize Palestinian men. We talk right. all the time about children, because hopefully it'll touch someone's heartstrings. And yes, we care about children. That's just innately within us. And as men, we care about women. We love women, okay? And they are the gentler sex, if you will, okay? But don't forget these men. And the only pictures you see, and that I saw growing up as a little boy, of a Palestinian man was just someone who looked like he was just angry. You didn't have any context, okay? So you have this person, you don't understand the way he's dressed. He doesn't look like you, and he's just screaming at the top of his lungs. You would too if your wife had just got shot in the head, okay? Or brutally raped right in front of you. If you just lost your entire family, and that's the snapshot of what you're getting, and someone yelling in a language you don't understand. And some people are so Islamophobic, and Arabic scares them, and somebody that doesn't have their color skin. Get over that and see humanity. And again, I can't tell you enough. Go on Al Jazeera English live on YouTube. See what's happening to precious people. See the images that the Western media is not showing you. And it's for free. You don't have to subscribe to a thing. And just so it can touch your heart, just open your heart to these people and demand a ceasefire now, regardless, just for the sake of humanity. Demand that, because it could be you someday.
Regardless of your feelings on the conflict or sides, which are wrong terms, it's humanity. And like, let me just plug again, please, when you go to Al Jazeera, because I know many people who sit in the middle or lean right or who are right are going to say, I don't watch that. Fine. Go to ifamericans.org. We know we can, for the most part, trust a .org website over a .com. And it's literally called If Americans Knew. And just look up the numbers for yourself. It's not opinions. It's not sob stories. It's pure facts. Then you can take those facts and do what you may with them. They're not like reporters giving a story from their perspective. It is just the pure facts, and it sheds a light on the Americans that were killed in 2010, when Israel hijacked the Shatila ship and just killed activists along with one American citizen. And then we have Rachel Corrie. Like, a lot of Americans don't know about this. A lot of Americans don't even know about the USS Liberty, which is crazy. But we fund them to kill not only Palestinians, but anyone who is helping Palestinians, even if they are white Americans, Christian Americans. It doesn't matter. This is not a Muslim issue. This is a humanitarian issue. And that's why people in Gaza agreed with me. A lot of them said that we need the people's help because the governments aren't listening. Like you said, Joe, no number is going to get them to do anything. So we need the people's help because we, the people, are more powerful than these governments as long as we are unified. If we're divided, we never will be. But if we're unified, which we can see the tide turning and unification building, I pray, I hope. It seems like it's not happening fast enough, but we have to keep up with it because what else can we do? Wait on these governments? We see that they're willing to allow a live genocide to be broadcast and do nothing about it. And 3,300 plus children killed. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart for having me. You go so hard for us. And not only are you relentless in your activism, but you give us a sacred, safe space to express our denied lived experiences freely. all our lived experiences are denied. I even saw a lady today on Facebook. Maybe I took it the wrong way on one of our mutual friends, but she's like asking our friend if this footage is real. So it's probably the worst example, because at the end she did show that she was very sympathetic to Palestinians and whatever, but just I reacted so triggered and like sensitively, because I'm like, what do you mean this is real? And like one of her comments was just like, well, as much as I don't want it to be real, I blah blah blah, I'll keep an open mind to all possibilities. I'm like, there is no possibility. It is fact. It is a video of people being mass murdered and then thrown into a mass grave by Israeli soldiers speaking Hebrew. This isn't a reporter. This is like the actual footage of it. And it was sent to me by two cousins. So what more do you need to see besides 3,300 plus children killed, videos like this, because this is just one of many. But
Yes.
anyways, that's why, I'm so grateful for this space, and for that alone, for giving us, this space, and for constantly going to bat for us. We're indebted to you for your humanity and your respect for the Palestinian people and their pain. I pray Allah rewards you and your family and protects you from any Zionist mob attacks. Not just here. I pray that Allah rewards you and your family, but eternally in the afterlife, because you and I both know our time here is temporary and the struggle is temporary. And that is the other thing that everyone from Gaza constantly messages me. That is the only thing that keeps us going when so many of us have lost all faith in humanity. The Gazans people's faith is the most powerful thing I've ever witnessed, and it's what they hold on to try to survive these difficult times, because they know on the other side, not long away, is an eternal place, and it's waiting for them in Jannah, heaven. It's heartbreaking to know that this is what they feel, that everything will be okay when they die. But at the same time, it's beautiful how even under some of the most tragic circumstances in the world, they put all their faith in their love for God, regardless if they're Christian, Muslim, or Palestinian. And my mom shared a story like that about a mom who lost her child, and she was grieving, obviously, but she was being so strong. And when asked about how she could be so strong, she said, because I know that he's at peace now. He went straight to heaven. It is written. So, as sad as it is, again, it's like bittersweet. It's beautiful at the same time, because it's what another thing that makes the Gazan people so special. Most people that go through even a day of what these people have seen stop believing in God. But these people hold on to that as their only source of like hope when they've lost it in all of us. So,
And then my government, in the place where I live, not really my government, but in the place where I live, is the one dropping bombs on them, and they're telling me how much they love me. This is
right,
this is
right.
it's all about
And
humanity.
God, and how much they love
Yeah,
God.
yes, and this is
You're
not an
dropping bombs on
isolated.
people of God.
Yeah, it's not an anomaly. This is so commonplace. If you get to know Palestinians, this is the norm. There is a love. There is a desire for peaceful coexistence. There is just a care and a beauty and a hospitality that nobody else surpasses that I've ever met in my 57 years. I can
Thank
tell you
you.
that.
And that's what makes it so sad. It's like the media just focuses on Hamas, and the Hamas rhetoric is just getting overwhelming. But let us continue with humanity, because we can inform, debate, and discuss as much as we'd like. And we can maybe get to that a little later. But nothing is more relatable and digestible to any human than a cry for humanity.
Yes.
So I just want to share a few personal stories for me of individuals when I think of Palestine, when the news hits the screen of bombing happening in Palestine. when I don't read past that headline, just Israel bombing Gaza again. So I don't get to the part that talks about Hamas or anything. Immediately, my mind goes to key individuals, certain people that I have personal connections with or organizations. So one of them, for example, maybe you've seen me sharing about her. I think we talked about it on our last interview when the Jenin bombings were happening. So let me just update you. Nora and Mustafa Gaith Sublaban, the couple in East Jerusalem that was facing eviction. We know East Jerusalem is a hot spot. Nora has been living in that home since 1955. She's old enough to be many of our grandmas. Um, Her family's been there longer, but she's been there since 1955. And for 45 years, her family has been fighting settlers trying to evict them from their own home. Settlers that came after 1955. The settlers were successful in evicting all residents of the building. Nora was the last one. When you and I were speaking, we were begging, pleading for people to come stop because she has family and friends here in the US. Nobody listened. The only delegation that was sent was from Mexico. Shout out to Mexico. Viva la Mexico. But who also, by the way, let me just add, opened up a Palestinian embassy this year. So bravo. But
Yes.
anyways, as we all know, a Mexican delegation is not enough to invoke any sort of change with Israel. They really needed everyone else's support and sadly didn't get it. So on July 11th, she was forcibly evicted from her home. And she is just now, I think on October 8th, so a day after the current uprisings, got the floor in front of the UN. And it's like a lot else that's going on. Like, okay, great that everyone is paying attention now. But once again, it's when it's too late. Like, she's lost her home. So now what? Are you going to give her reparations? Are you going to give her another home? Are you going to kick these settlers out? Like, thank you for listening to us now, UN. Once again, they've let us down. Like, they just put on this show by giving her an appearance on the floor. But what is it going to do? I mean, it does something because it's giving her a platform to tell her story and to speak out. Now, look how gracious this woman is. Instead of using her platform to cry about her situation, she's devoting it to calling for a ceasefire, to educating about what's happening in Palestine. She's not even making it about her, although she has every right to do so. And it, like, this is about her. She has a personal struggle. She's been kicked out of her own home by settler colonialism of Israel. But sorry, a little furry friend just walked up on me. You might hear him crying here. Stop it. But yeah, so it's really sad. Again, like a little too late. And the same thing with these kids. That's what's also going to happen there. Like, I know there's no way after hearing all of what the Israeli government is saying, after more light is shined on that, which we'll get to in a little bit, and after an increase in these numbers and more U.S. tax dollars being wasted while crime increases in our country and various, I'm sure, natural disasters to come. Aren't we in hurricane season still? Like, there's so many things that we could be dealing with here, but we're going to not take care of Hawaii or Ohio. How patriotic of us. And fund people like Israel to kick genuine, sweet old ladies like Nora, who've been living in her home since 1955, out. So yeah, at what point, like when everyone realizes that this is too much, because that's going to happen maybe a few months from now, maybe a year, it will happen. It's going to be too late. We're really begging and pleading for people to, listen now. Another example I have when I hear the Gaza news, anytime, I think of the Free Gaza Circus. I've been sharing them a lot. They're a phenomenal group organization put together by an amazing man named Muhammad. And it's just uh, an opportunity to provide children of Gaza mental release and a chance to try acrobatics and gymnastics. And it's just a really cool sports group thing that he's got going on there. They do break dancing, and it's just like really sweet and relatable. There are many examples of children's groups like this. Okay. They outnumber Hamas. So the fact that we're carpet bombing this trap population who has groups like Free Gaza Service Circus, which outnumber Hamas, is just heartbreak. It doesn't make any sense. And for me in particular, why I think of them so much lately is because I'm a big fan of them. I've been following them, and we spoke a little bit about me coming to meet them. And um, I, a few months back connected with a couple other groups about how I wanted to come to Africa and the Middle East and just, skate around the world representing Palestine and meet other athletes, hopefully find some other figure skaters. Now I'm actually here doing it, or so I thought. I came to Africa. It's been a dream of mine my whole life. Right before October 7th, I think I landed here September 30th. I had no idea this was going to happen. I completely changed my life. I got rid of my apartment, sold my car, my dog died. So I got rid of all commitments and just said, I'm going to live abroad. I'm going to move to Africa. I didn't even tell anyone, only my mom, my dad, and my brother last minute. I said I did tell people that I was going to move abroad, that I was going to skate abroad and represent Palestine and act as Coach NeNe, looking for my next, Palestinian figure skaters, because the Palestinians now have a chance in the Winter Olympics if we want to make an appearance. And I am now part of the Palestinian Olympic athletes group, although I'm not an Olympian. At least I've been welcomed into that group, and I'm proud of that. So I really wanted to go to other countries to find, if I couldn't, other Palestinian athletes, maybe people that would help represent us who had ice rinks in their countries. But my ultimate plan was to get to at least Egypt and to get some of these kids through the border, because there's an ice rink in Egypt, and to just test their skills, meet them in person, because I am not allowed in Gaza. So it's like September 30th, I arrive here and I'm starting to reach out to people, and I'm planning my, time. And I started in Tanzania, and I was going to work my way up Northern Africa. I came to Tanzania for an ice rink, by the way. Didn't even realize, wasn't updated online, that it's been shut down due to COVID. It's in a mall, and the mall is lost a lot of business. So that changed my plans. But it's crazy because when that happened unexpectedly, and I was trying to figure out where I'm going to go next and what country I could go to kind of position me strategically to hit Tunisia and Egypt, where there are ice rinks, is 1 week. And then all of this started happening on October 7th. And immediately I go to check on groups like Free Gaza Circus, because that's what a normal human being would do when they actually take the time to get to know Palestinians in Palestine. When they actually do their research, they don't jump to say, but Hamas. They check on their Palestinian friends, and they check on the people in Palestine first that are doing good things, because they outnumber Hamas. And of course, Free Gaza Circus facility was bombed. And it's just really sad, because we know, yes, there's a tragic situation happening right now where we're losing people. But for the people that are alive, the children that are alive, this place is the only source for some of them of just a break from this harsh reality. So the mental health crisis that is happening in Gaza is just astronomical. It's historical. And for us to be bombing places where we know children are gathering, and to then turn on the news and hear all this but Hamas rhetoric and, oh, they're using them as shields. No, I know these people personally. There is no Hamas in that building. And
No.
I don't know what else you need besides a fellow American to tell you that. Like, you would think that would be credible enough. Why would I want to lie about that? My family lives in America. Why would I want to support a threat to my family? That makes no sense. If I'm calling to stop something there, I understand because I'm Palestinian. You could argue that's bias, but trust me, the Free Gaza Circus facility is of no threat to us Americans. Like, there is a way that we can handle this where we are not targeting these children's places of peace.
Well, just like
So,
hospitals, and there's UN workers, and there's doctors from Doctors Without Borders. There's people that have been in these hospitals saying, "I have free access to every corridor, every in the basement, everywhere in this hospital." I can tell you, they are not housing
the
Hamas.
doctor,
And we could, yes, and we could get deeper into this as far as who created, who funds Hamas, who does all this stuff about about why the border was so insecure. Okay, the unjust border, but the border that they created was so insecure. Why the Israeli occupying force didn't show up till, what was it, like 6 hours later? Why was a concert scheduled there? Why, to me, there's some false flags, there's some false reporting,
yeah,
there's things that have already been debunked. We're not really going to get into that, but, and I'm just going to say this. There's going to be people watching this video, okay, and you'll be like, why didn't they talk about this or that? You can only talk about something so much in one setting, in one video, okay, and especially hold people's attention. But I will say this. We want to be your
right.
voice so much. If you have questions or anything like that, or would like a
And I
platform, I am open to
promise
you. Comment
I will be
them.
back and we could talk
Yeah,
about all of
exactly. So there is so much about this topic. It is so deep.
things.
There's
Like,
so
they
much
want
more
to
we could
come
talk
here
about.
because,
Go ahead.
but that's why I said, let me just focus on humanity, because we'd be here all night. There's so much new information, even. It's shocking how much Americans don't know. And I definitely want to talk about that. And we will a little bit after I finish up with my personal stories, but we got to come back and talk more. And let me just say quickly that it's been my intent to do that since the last time we spoke. But I literally could not find the strength to make this interview happen. I don't know how I found it today. I mean, you see how I broke down in the beginning. I'm surprised that I'm not doing it the whole time, or I was concerned that I'm just going to get so upset that I'm not going to be able to speak from a place of peace and level-headedness, because at this point I'm just angry, and for so long we've been like, I mean, even my mom just lectured me yesterday when I went a little hard on someone that was attacking her, because that's my mom, and she's much more gracious than me. She's so sweet and gentle. She like posts things like, in the name of God. So how do you comment ignorance on that? How are you stupid? How are you, like, keep it to yourself, message her privately, like, or leave her alone, because she's grieving and reliving her childhood trauma. Like, that is my mom. So forgive me for getting a little feisty in that instance. But for so long, and like my mom was lecturing me after that while she is on my side and she agrees that it's always best to take a deep breath and to not respond that way, because we need to show people how we are the true people of peace, how we truly call for that, how we can't start acting like these crazy, angry Israelis, because they already think that we are, always mad. And well, if the lady even said this to me, well, if all Palestinians respond like that, then we'll never have peace. And I responded with, no, lady, we will never have peace as long as you're bombing over 3,300 children. Like, we will never have peace as long as you're genociding us. I am justified in my response. I didn't call you any names. I didn't, disrespect. I just am angry. I'm upset. It's okay to have these emotions. But for so long, Palestinians are told, like, be careful. It's almost like the angry black woman, like she's crazy because she's a little angry. That's not true. A Palestinian is not crazy because they're a little angry over their race being ethnically cleansed. We're not saying death to Jews. They're saying death to Arabs. It's crazy how the media is constantly putting that in the headlines. Hamas calling for annihilation of all of Israel and Jews. Okay, even let's say hypothetically that's true, which I don't agree that that's true, but let's say it is. That's not all of Palestinians saying that. So we have to be careful because they know that the general American public conflates Hamas with all of Palestinians. So that's why they do it.
And Israel uses it to justify or attempt to justify, it's unjustifiable, but collective punishment in the form of genocide and ethnic cleansing. And man, like I said, this needs to stop.
And that's why I'm here today, to remind people that I have condemned Hamas since the day that I knew they existed. I condemned them adamantly until January this year. I only stopped because how much condemning of them can I do before someone condemns the other side? And I quote Sadia Khan, the amazing psychologist who I shared, who posted recently, I will condemn Hamas as quickly as Piers Morgan condemns Israel, as quickly as Jordan Peters condemns Israel. It's not that we don't condemn Hamas, but you want us to do it like this, and you're still not doing it for Israel. Or if we're so lucky, we get a condemnation, but we get no action. So we have condemned Hamas all these years, and there's no action.
And Hamas is a drop in the bucket when you compare it with Israeli atrocities over the past 75 plus years. There's no, before Hamas existed, Israel was committing these atrocities. Okay. I mean, if you study any student of history, I mean, a third grade student of Palestinian history knows better.
So if you with all due respect, I didn't come here today to condemn Hamas, and I'm not coming here any day to do it because I've condemned them and you didn't listen for so long. I tried to use that as a way, even with one of my Jewish friends back in January this year. That's why I said January, I think, is the last time that I did that. I knew that the only way to connect with her was to say that. She had gone to Israel on a birthright and everything, but I gave her the time of day because she met me with love and genuine friendship, and she spoke to me about her friend in Gaza. So I feel like although she experienced that in her younger years, that she's progressed in her thinking and she's developing, and that if I'm patient and show her love and just, by the way, another figure skater, so a beautiful connection through that maybe she would relate to me and continue to, just tap into her humanitarian side and realize that she's been brainwashed all these years. But I remember she said it before I could. I intended to say it because I already know how they think, but she was like right away when we were talking about it. And I want peace for everyone. I have a friend in Gaza, but the thing is, Hamas has got to stop too. As annoying as that was for me, this was back in January, I still found it deep within my soul to be like, yes, I agree. It doesn't help us when they go rogue, and the people in Palestine did not want them to. There are people in Gaza that don't want them to do things, a lot of them actually, because they know they're going to get the collective punishment. They'd rather live under siege than deal with what we are now. But it's reached a boiling point where even when they're willing to give like that, Israel continues to take and cut off their water and cut off their electricity and cut off their internet before this recent, situation. So it's I think they've reached their boiling point, because even when they were like, okay, yes, we agree, we don't want Hamas to do anything, please stop bombing us, it wasn't enough. We are still going after them. And why? Because we have this rogue new Israeli government. So
that many Israelis oppose. Many Israelis oppose. Yeah.
Yes. And that's what I want to talk about a little today. I think I've cried enough and spoke on a lot from the humanitarian side. I was going to talk a little bit about Ibrahim, but we can do that next time. I kind of mentioned him earlier as the gentleman, and you know him. He's your friend too on Facebook, who's just, a pure innocent soul. Like, he's a little nerd, a computer nerd, and just loves, designing things and for social projects, like I said, just helping with water and electricity and resin. He's really sharp, and he's just all about his computers, and his dream is to go to Turkey, and just the furthest thing from Hamas. I think of people like Ibrahim when I see the news. He started following me because of my skating, and he's just been inspired, and I'm honored that I could be a source of hope for him, because he messages me when the bombing is happening, or he stops messaging me, and I don't know again if he's alive or okay. And that's what I was going to touch on with the Free Gaza Circus, by the way. So after their facility was bombed, I'm following them, and I see Muhammad update that he can't get in touch with any of his children. So again, like, at what point are we going to stop saying but Hamas and look at what may have provoked this and what is justifying the bombing of a place like Free Gaza Circus? Like, it's, I think, starting to get some light, but that's why we're here today, to talk about it. So this Israeli government, first thing that Americans need to know: stop standing for Israel when Israel doesn't even stand for Israel. Look at how they're protesting their own government right now, whether they're pro-Palestine or not. They are unified in wanting this government to be gone, in wanting Netanyahu to be gone. Like, they've had Satanyahu, we should say. They've had enough. So you want to cry about anti-Semitism, but how anti-Semitic is it to ignore a huge population protesting, a Jewish population protesting against an extremist government? For me, that's the definition of anti-Semitism. You're completely disregarding, denying their experiences, selecting a specific population, only listening to them. You're not even listening to Jewish people. You're listening to just a extreme group of Zionists, and half of them aren't even Jewish.
And you're committing genocide on other Semites. Palestinians are Semitic people.
Right.
Just a reminder to my audience. You know that, of
Don't get
course.
me started on that.
Okay.
But I just wanted to appeal to, that. And I want to say this, by the way, because I know you've been really sensitive. This hasn't, been reaching as many people as we hope to, but I hope this interview reaches a lot. I've been pushing and sharing, and I'm going to after this. So in the event that it does, and immediately they're like, she's anti-Semitic, I just want to quote someone who I admire, Adam Broomberg. I don't know if you follow him, but he's a pretty cool cat. Check him out on Instagram, and he's based in Germany, and he's now running for office, I think, there. He's just an awesome guy. He's Jewish. So I'm going to listen to my dear Jewish friend Adam Broomberg, who said, when accused of anti-Semitism, when someone confuses your criticism of the state of Israel with anti-Semitism, to use this response. And I couldn't agree more with this response. So I've started using it, and I just want to say, I stand against anti-Semitism, which is antithetical to human rights. I oppose discrimination, racism, and hate crimes in all forms, including against Jews or people perceived as Jewish. All of my criticism of the Israeli government is based in international law and on evidence of the great harm and suffering of Israel's policies causing to Palestinians. I criticize the Israeli government, not the Israeli people or the Jewish people. So let's just be clear about that. I am no different than the Jews marching, protesting against their own government. I am on their side, actually, with this. And yeah, it was just important for me to share that before I move forward with all the crazy things that Americans should know about this government. Besides the fact, like I've mentioned on previous interviews, which many Americans have no idea when they're standing for Israel, if you are LGBTQ ally friendly, just know this government hates gays as much as they hate Palestinians. They probably hate anyone from the LGBTQ community more than every Arab country combined. Because I know right away people are going to say, but Arabs hate gays. No, we don't hate gays. But even if you want to go with that stereotype, do your research into who these people are and view their previous recordings, and you'll see for yourself some of the things that they've said about people from the LGBTQ community. So I just want to first throw that in before I start taking the floor with the things that they've said about Palestinians. But just a couple examples, because we talked about Hamas and Hamas and everything being unprovoked. Just imagine that your government, for not just recent government, but for 75 plus years, your government is your occupational government is saying things like this. But these are the most recent ones because the current government is the most extreme. The public in Israel belongs to the Jewish race. The entire Jewish race is the highest human capital, the smartest, and the one that understands most. This is Miki Zohar, the Likud party of Israeli parliament. He's literally saying that the Jewish people, so forget Palestinian, you could be anyone, and this is inhumane. It's offensive. Like, the Jews are better than everyone. Isn't this what they tried to say that Hamas is saying? They have no evidence. This man is like on camera or in an interview, and there's so many of these. Like, I'll be here all day going through them all. But if Americans would just look, they can find them. But they don't look at who the politicians are. They'll look at the politicians in the US, but they won't look at where their US tax dollars are funding politicians elsewhere. It's the same thing. I would be interested, wouldn't you? So some of the other ones, they can, again, research, quote me if I'm wrong. Elected member of Jerusalem City Council, Yonatan Yosef, captions his picture in front of Sublan's family home with the words, Nekba now. Remember who I mentioned earlier? Nora, who was evicted from her home. He literally is holding an Israeli flag and is just captioning the photo, Nekba now. Like, they make a mockery out of our genocide. The Nekba, for anyone who is watching, is our term for the catastrophe. It's when they started this ethnic cleansing. That's what we call it. This is an ongoing Nekba. And he's literally saying genocide now. But you can see how many news outlets claiming that we're over sensationalizing it, calling it ethnic cleansing or a genocide. The guy in the parliament is literally, or the city council is literally saying it. He's literally calling for it. There's just too many. I'm trying to find another one that's pretty recent, but until I pull that up, let's talk about the most recent one that I chatted with you about earlier, and that is the one time that we've seen some action taken. So another sign that the tide may be turning. But the prime minister who just called on dropping a nuke on Gaza, and I have to look up their names because they have these crazy names. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Amici Eliyahu. He's the Minister of Heritage. And he is a far-right lawmaker. And on X, he said, well, first of all, he backtracked his comments now that the heat is on him. But he called for dropping a nuke on Gaza. And now that, you know, the heat is on this situation, that all eyes are on this, news publications have taken note of it and they've reported on it, and people are pissed. While us Palestinians are laughing, like, We've been telling you that they've been saying this crazy stuff since the beginning, and this is nothing. Nuke Gaza, you should hear the rest of the things. He said that all us animals should go back to the deserts or Ireland, that a nuke was the only option. There's a list of things that he said in this interview. So now that he's got the heat on him and Netanyahu had to do something, Netanyahu backed down from firing him, but he did suspend him. And we're like, whoop-de-doo. But for me, it's like, wow, this is a small signal that the tide might be turning, because they've been getting away with far worse comments than this. So in a sense, it's really sad that the spotlight is on us, but it's really good in where it's exposing them, because us Palestinians are watching everything that they've been saying, and we're sharing it and screaming it from the rooftops and posting it on our social medias, and confused how people like Americans can go along with this, especially when we share the things, like I said, about LGBTQ communities or other races. Like, we're trying to appeal to them from every angle if they're not going to find the relatability and humanity for Palestinians. But the comments that they make alone on Palestinians, we've been sharing. And it's like, wow. So it took this situation from October 7th and this interview talking about dropping a nuke on Gaza for finally some like spotlight to be shed on that and some action to be taken. I'm glad we're here, but again, a little too late. Let's speed it up because the damage is being done. So, I again encourage my American neighbors to really look deep into this and to who is in this extremist, far right, terrorist Israeli government, and they will see they are the ones calling for death to Arabs. They have made it legal for settlers to raid our mosques, our homes, our churches, our hospitals, screaming death to Arabs. They have passed around, they have circulated like instructions for how they can avoid being arrested. They said at one point, women, elderly, young, it doesn't matter. If it's an Arab and you feel that you need to defend yourself, shoot them on sight. What kind of democracy is this? Like, one race just gets to kill another race because they feel like it. So they've taken it upon themselves to now not use it as a form of defense, but to literally raid our mosques and churches and hospitals and terrorize us, screaming death to Arabs. Could you imagine if we did that? Screaming death to Jews. They don't have any video footage of any protests of us doing that. All of our protests have been peaceful. 300,000 people in DC. History was just made. Did we see anything happen like after Black Lives Matter, or like how these Jews are screaming death to Arabs in Israel? These, I call them fake Jews, because no true Jewish person of God would be screaming death to Arabs.
And I'm tired of the media calling these demonstrations in the U.S., because I know these folks, pro-Hamas rallies. That is propaganda. I mean, to the core.
See for yourself. Yeah, this is straight up cry for humanity. Everything I said in the beginning, and the genocide, and apartheid, and the occupation, and ceasefire.
It's about humanity. Yes, regardless of religion, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of sexuality, regardless of any of that. And we all have our disagreements on certain things.
And
humanity is humanity. Genocide is genocide. Human life is precious.
And it's for the children. Because I will tell you, Joe, I've been screaming about this for years. And even when it's not a trend, even when no one's listening, when everyone's going about their Kim Kardashian, Kanye news like nothing, what am I posting? Palestine. Even if I have something to share in my skating or my personal life, which I feel so guilty doing now, by the way. Like, I don't want to talk about anything except the ethnic cleansing of my people, because nothing matters anymore. Nothing is as important as that. But, even when I was talking about it, before. Now I've kind of lost my train of thought, what we were talking about there. But
We're talking
oh,
about the
I was gonna say,
humanitarian.
for years I've been begging people to come out with me, friends, family, and they have slowly as things have been increasing. But what I've noticed now, like, these numbers are too much. The people that have, you know, debated with me why it's a waste of time for them or why they don't have time, now I see them going. Like, I'm not even asking, I'm not even pushing, and no one is pushing. They're just so moved by how many children are being killed. And that's what we're out here protesting for, these children that don't have voices. Would you not be out here in the streets if 3,300 children in Indiana were rounded up and fenced in like animals with their parents and told that they can't leave and then bombed from overhead? Like, no, okay, Israel is smaller than the size of Indiana. So it's like pretty crazy to think of what they're doing to Gaza, and again, how they can call these demonstrations pro Hamas. Like, any sane human being would be out protesting if that many children were killed. This is not about Hamas. And if we want to debate again, if this was provoked or not, if Hamas is the problem, we can do that. But don't try to make these demonstrations. And I've shared something like this recently, so I want to talk about that. Mr. Matt Walsh and his sponsored ads, which, let me just say, we got to catch up to. And at a later date, let's talk, because I've been working on some things and trying to strategize with people on how we can turn up our PR and match this energy, not just in ad investments, but literally everything the Zionists are doing. We need to do it too, whether it's as business owners, being public and taking stances, which I'm seeing more now, or purchasing these ads, doing more interviews, appearing on, certain publications. Like, we need to keep up with them, because I truly believe that is when we're going to reach liberation. That is why they're kicking our butts, because for years they've dominated this PR game, and now they can't, because social media is here. So what was I about to look up before I got on a rant there? It's like so hard for me to stay um, on pace here with everything that I've wanted to say. We were talking about the Likud party, the protests. Oh, Matt Walsh. So he, I don't even need to pull it up. I can tell you what he said, and you can look it up yourself on some Zionist company sponsored ad, is just drawing parallels to us as the BLM protests. And I know why the Republicans are doing this, because they see a number of conservatives starting to change their perspectives, because a true conservative can see an anti-democratic and anti-constitutional rogue government a mile away. And if you're a true conservative, you will not stand with it, with people who stand for no freedom of speech, with no right to bear arms for only one particular race, with just, many of the insane things that this new Israeli government is standing for. So it's just wild that he's got this, that they've got the audacity to say something like this. But anyways, he said the pro-Palestine marches are just BLM reincarnate, literally the exact same people with the exact same objectives, anti-West and anti-white. What are you talking about? First of all, educate yourselves. And you know what's funny? When I commented on this, not one conservative is debating me, because I bet you they're reading it like, she has a point. Okay? Wrong. For one, I was leaning right before conservatives once again let me down with their double standard stance on freedom of speech. Do you even realize many of us are conservative? This is the opposite of who was marching in BLM. And educate yourselves beyond Zionist funded ads. the same elite swamp that you cried about during COVID are the same people sending us into World War III. So, no, American soldiers need to be lost over Zionist pocket lining war games. Enough is enough. Help Hawaii before Israel. Help Ohio. How American of us, how patriotic to not lift a finger for them, like I mentioned earlier, but to send billions on direct payment to Israel to thrust us into yet another unviable Middle East war. Does this sound like the people marching in BLM? Yes, there is a lot of Palestinians who marched with BLM. I was one of them. But when everything started getting out of control, I couldn't anymore because I didn't know what was going to happen after that. I still made sure to stand by my African American brothers and sisters in every way possible. I still was very outspoken, and I have been since before George Floyd. Again, since before things have been made a trend by the media. We know racism exists, and I'll die being vocal about that and arguing with people who insist that it's not. But there's nothing anti-West or anti-white about this. We are protesting because 3,300 children have been killed and nobody is calling for a ceasefire. And the Palestinians are wondering why, after how many uprisings, the U.S. was quick to cry about a ceasefire. Now that we're actually crying for it, they don't want to give it. Like, it's just, yeah.
And the number's over 9,000 total right now. It may be approaching 10,000 if we're talking about total human lives. This is
right.
This is disgusting. She's just talking about children. These are humans, not just your kids, but your adult kids. Let's picture your aunts, your uncles, your grandmother, your grandfather, your family, your friends. Picture that. Look at your family picture and pick everybody just annihilated.
And you know
your
what?
Friends,
I've tried
to share that.
I've tried to share that to hit home to someone, an entire family that was wiped from the registry. And you look at this family and they're a beautiful family. They don't look like terrorists. They look like a normal Arab family, every age, completely wiped. I don't get it. But I didn't want to end on a negative note. I wanted to end on a positive note of how the tide is turning. Because, for example, like I said, commenting on there, I was bracing myself for the conservative attacks because usually I try not to comment on those ads. I know what's going to come with it. But I'm telling you, nobody has come back to me. In fact, I've gotten a lot of likes. And when I look at them, they're not just Palestinians. They're conservatives. And I want to throw this out there to anyone that's watching. And I said this earlier today when I posted that we are not Republican or Democrat. We are children of God. So please, when you watch this, do it from an open mind and an open heart, that I am not a brainwashed leftist by any means. And I'm sorry, I cannot join the right because they're calling now for the expulsion of Palestinians. And I want to briefly touch on that so Americans know and why this is so anti-democratic and anti-constitutional to stand with this Israeli government, is because they have the ability to control what we're doing in America. That's scary. Why do we fear people like China on TikTok or whatever? But we literally allow Israel, and not just in America, by the way. France is bending for them, a couple other countries where they are now literally making it law where you can't speak out against the government of Israel. So even if I'm not speaking out against the Israeli people or Jews, if I'm specifically saying like what I said earlier when I read Adam Broomberg's statement on being accused for anti-Semitism, that I am criticizing the Israeli government, we heard recently COVID, everything, and like Americans being censored, and here's the truth. But when it comes to the student organizations, he's trying to label them as terrorist groups and disband them, like the Palestinian Youth Movement, and innocent groups of college students or teenagers. Like, So again, as disgusting as that is, as sad as it is, for me, this is wonderful. It's a signal that they feel threatened, that they now have to come after us. They know the younger generation is turning the tide. And I can personally see it, Joe. So, with all this sadness and negativity, I see not just a change in the tide of white people or people abroad. Oh, by the way, I just want to briefly mention in what I just said that it is now punishable by imprisonment and up to 75,000 euro fine, I think, for speaking up against Israel and France. So just
I heard it was
like
a proposal in
imagine.
their Congress. I didn't know that it passed, but it may have.
Oh, okay. I may
Yeah,
stand corrected. Yeah, a
yeah.
lot of these
Which is
things
for that
are
to even be
proposals.
introduced is preposterous. Yeah, to speak
Right.
against
So
genocide,
forgive me for
we're
that.
gonna a hefty fine most people can't afford, or jail
Hmm.
time
For
is
speaking against
despicable.
a foreign
A
government,
government, yes,
not your own government, a
no,
foreign government.
is despicable. Yeah, a foreign
So
government. Thank you.
it's like, how can you call yourself a patriot
Yeah,
and support that? We wouldn't allow China to do that. We actually want to go to war with China for doing that to their own people, supposedly. We like, it's just crazy. But we can allow little bitty Israel to do that to us. And you think they're going to stop with just us Palestinians? No, you are next. No, we are just the guinea pigs on many things, like they've proven with their technology. So, again, for me, all this sadness and like confusion over like these new political these proposals being introduced, the one that the Republicans just proposed for the expulsion of Palestinians that seeking asylum, and the ones with a Palestinian visa or passport. It's just, and then Trump promising when he comes that he's going to push it through and there'll be another Muslim ban. Like,
yeah,
even with all of that, I can't help but feel a little bit of hope, not just in the tide changing when I see, like I said, people across the world of other races, just looking at DC and the history made with the 300,000 that came out to march now, and the numbers in UK, like, you can taste the liberation.
yes.
And also, for me personally, why I can is because for so many years I felt alone in this fight.
Mhm.
I would say the last 5 years, I've been blessed and honored to meet people like you and people on the ground in Chicago, like my dear friend Dr. Sabha, who is just as fearless and relentless as me when she speaks and posts, and, not just for Palestinians, but for other races as well, as am I. And I just feel like the last 5 years have given me some hope that more of our generation and more of the younger generation is understanding that it's our duty to do this, that we absolutely have to. And the number one thing, that we don't have to be afraid of losing our businesses and our success. Yes, it may still happen. We are targeted. But at this point, what the occupation is so scared of the American public knowing is that they are outnumbered. They are not the majority, not just by Palestinians, but by our allies and by their own Israeli citizens. Their ideologies, the way they view Israel in the next few years, like, nobody agrees with it. They are outnumbered. And the media and the Biden administration and a couple other governments are doing a good job up to this point of convincing the American public that, this is the way to go because that's, the people of Israel. But I feel more people waking up. And for me personally, I see in my inner circles, family members, friends, who I know for a fact didn't speak up before because they're more wealthy and successful than me, and they feared losing these things. And like me, from a very young age, were trained to be careful because They will come for you even as a college student. They will make your academic career miserable. You want to speak up when you have a career, you can kiss your career goodbye. Like the Canary website will report you, and all of the, ADL and different organizations will get you canceled in whatever industry you're in, whether it's medical, education. There are countless accounts of that, and at a later date we need to have an interview, and I will inform everybody of those examples, some of those examples. But yeah, I feel now, and it gives me so much hope and pride personally, that there's more Palestinian business owners, athletes, American Palestinian business owners, athletes, and of different backgrounds, way more successful, way more resourceful and connected than me, that are saying, okay, enough. People who have never posted about this because they're so Americanized and they have so many friends that are on this side and don't understand this side, and it'll affect their business.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. I've seen so many of them. So for me, I just want to say to anyone watching that I don't care what you didn't do before, and Palestine doesn't care. We are just thankful that you are brave enough to be here now. And let's just focus on that, because the few people that I've spoke with about that have messaged me regret, like I should have spoken up about this a long time ago. But I empathize for them because I know what that felt like. I never truly gave into that, but I was careful at some points in my life. And now there is no more doing that. And I understand that because it's difficult to reach a level of success in this country sometimes when you have a name like Muhammad or Hassan, and they ask where you're from, and then you're Palestinian, and what do you know? The whole upper management is Jewish Zionists. Like, it's not easy sometimes. Some of us are very privileged, some of us are half white, and it was a little easier for us. But some of us, have big noses and like crazy hair, and people just don't like how we look. We look like a terrorist. So it's like, I get it when they got to do what they got to do to get to where they have to get. And many races, by the way, can relate to this struggle, not just
Right.
Palestinians. So now that we are here, that's all that matters. And we need more of you, because that's why the Zionists are winning. Since day one, they have had rich people in power, in banking, in Hollywood, in pharma. Like, we need to be unafraid like them. They have spoken adamantly about their support for Israel in their business meetings. That's how they fund it. That's how they raise money. We as Arabs have a lot of money and resources. We need to do the same thing.
Mhm.
So when we do that, when we continue to be brave and consistent and doing our part in whatever industry that we are professionals in, because a lot of us have individual resources. My computer is going to die. Oh, crap. Heads up. Ah!
That's well. It looks like NeNe's battery has gone out, but I think you got the message. I think you heard her heart. And that's just so important. And we'll be back with more interviews. And I just thank my precious sisters so very much. It was just a great time together. And thank you so much for watching this. Share it, please.